Hi everyone, it's Chenzo from Reality Art Pod, here to talk about part 2 of the season finale of the Challenge 41 Vets and New Threats. Last week on the challenge, players got started with the final, collecting keys at checkpoints, with the vets leaving the new threats to carry all the hard work. Despite some injuries, everyone survived the first day, and TJ offered them the chance to stake a claim on a new partner. Links in the description to my playlist to catch up on my previous recaps. If you like the content, consider liking, subscribing, and using my link to try Paramount Plus for free. But let's dive into it. We pick back up where we left off, TJ asking if anyone wants to stake a claim, and no one is down, just as I suspected. They're exhausted. Even if they wanted to, it's too much work. And they head to the overnight portion, where one player on each team gets to sleep in their tent, while the other player has to stand outside on a log. TJ says if the partner on the log falls asleep and falls off the log, they have to switch places. Falls asleep and falls off the log is crazy. In the end, they'll get some time to sleep. Teams that got to this checkpoint first get more time to sleep, with Theo and Adrian getting no time to sleep as punishment for being last to the checkpoint. So they get started standing on their logs. Adrian is talking everyone's ears off about being cheated on, which taught her forgiveness, spiders, and money laundering. Sydney comes out and pretty much forces Turbo to get off the stump to sleep, since he's the weaker link on their team. They make it through the night, and shockingly to nobody but TJ, no one falls asleep and falls off their log. In the morning, there's controversy about a rope that's supposed to keep them tethered. Cedric can't find his rope. He set his rope outside and someone took it, or it's missing. Theo has a confessional where he admits to picking up a rope and not knowing if the rope he took was his or not, but he thinks it was his. TJ tells them they'll be racing to the summit of the mountain, completing checkpoints along the way. The first team to the top will win the challenge. He also tells Cedric and Michaela they'll be penalized for not having their rope with a 5-minute penalty, at which time they'll get a new rope. So everyone gets started, joined eventually by Cedric and Michaela. They see horses. Amazing. Turbo and Sydney are first to the first checkpoint, where they need to answer questions about their teammate. If they get the answers wrong, they have to run down to the crater and get a hint at one of the answers they got wrong. Sydney flies through this with a level of confidence that's consistent to Sydney, but Turbo's struggling with the questions. Theo also struggles with his Adrian knowledge, but Turbo and Sydney are first to complete this, followed by Olivia and Yarmy, Theo and Adrian, and Cedric and Michaela. No change in placement, but Cedric and Michaela make up some time. Adrian is struggling. She's got a blister and can't feel her legs. Theo is encouraging and patient, while Adrian is vomitous. At the next checkpoint, they have to wait for the next team to show up to play a game of Connect 4. The winner moves on, and the loser has to wait for the next team to play another game. Turbo and Sydney are joined by Olivia and Yarmy. Turbo saves Sydney from making a mistake and leads their team to a Connect 4 win that allows them to move on. Olivia and Yarmy are beaten by Theo and Adrian, and then Cedric and Michaela, leaving them in last place. They are devastated and have to wait there for 10 minutes before continuing, so they're far in last. But they come out of their penalty really pushing, with Yarmy motivating Olivia to a fast pace. Struggling Theo and Adrian take a break, which allows Cedric and Michaela, and then Olivia and Yarmy to pass them, leaving them in last as Adrian is dizzily stumbling. Yarmy is kind of dragging Olivia up this mountain as they pass up Cedric and Michaela. Adrian can't take it anymore. She's not able to continue, curled up in a ball. The producer pretty much tells them they're so far from third place, they might as well just stop, so they stop here in fourth place. I'll talk about them later with the finalists. Michaela then collapses, getting some attention from the medic, but they keep going, though very far behind. Eventually, Olivia and Yarmy are right on Sydney and Turbo's tail, making up an absurd amount of ground. It's a slow foot race to the top, only 400 feet to go, but Turbo's losing his vision and struggling to walk as Olivia and Yarmy squeeze past them and make it to the top first. So Olivia and Yarmy win first place and are challenge champions, with Yarmy saying the money will change he and his mom's lives, and Turbo and Sydney lock in second place. Turbo is very upset about losing, but also he's unwell, getting helicoptered out in a stretcher, promising to return to the challenge, and Cedric and Michaela get to the end, locking in third place. The episode ends on a really positive note, with Olivia saying she's going to start her farm and her family, with flash forward to a few months later, where Olivia's pregnant with the baby boy who was just born a few days before this aired. What a happy ending. With that, let's talk about these finalists, starting with fourth placers, starting with Adrian, who comes into the season and quickly bonds with the other international players, which makes sense. I was worried for her when she got injured in the beginning after deciding to play with no shoesies, but she ends up safe for the first half of the season, watching her friends go until she gets partnered with Theo, which was a blessing and a curse. A blessing because it made her become more of a priority in Olivia's strategy, but a curse because Theo is such a pain in the ass, and they end up in 4 eliminations over the course of 6 weeks, but those eliminations made her look really good for the most part, winning them, but also starting the narrative that she was right and Theo wasn't listening, even through the final where she continues to outpace Theo in the first part, but she's not able to complete this final, and I don't blame her. This was really hard, and I'm confident if she keeps training and coming back, she'll be able to complete something like this, but I'd love to see her on the show again. She was there to compete, and I think she's capable of bringing a little more drama than we saw. And Theo, who seems to do a lousy job of staying in touch with people from the challenge on the off season, as other vets seem to have a lot of animosity towards him, leaving him on the outs with his UK alliance. I wonder if there would even be this world divide if Theo and Olivia weren't so far out of the loop. Though though maybe he made some new friends along the way this season. He wasn't the best in daily challenges. On Twitter, he blames an injury that just wasn't pointed out, but the show just made it seem like he was struggling. They also featured him being an awful partner to Adrian in the last few episodes, in eliminations especially, and forcing her to do the cold swim in the final, which was a low light from him for me. He could have focused more on their partnership, though in the end, they were going to get fourth place no matter what. I like following Theo and Olivia outside the show and think she brings out the best in him, and I enjoy the drama that he brings effortlessly, and wouldn't mind his return, but I'm not sure if I want it without Olivia there too. And our third placers splitting $25,000, Cedric, who coming from Big Brother, I was excited to see return. I think he's so fun, and for the most part, he delivered. Anytime he's on camera, he's animated and lively, though I felt he was severely under-edited throughout the season. He's a great competitor, well-liked, played a good game. His partnership with Michaela was a good pairing. They flew under the radar and played the middle. They slipped through to the end game, and he carried their team in the final, where he was consistent and a great partner. With a different partner, he had a real shot to win this. He could have staked a claim, but I think after getting accused of being a snake at the club a few weeks ago, on his first season, it's not a good look to abandon Michaela in this last moment. As an investment in his own future on the show, it was a good idea to stick and keep pushing. He's someone I need to see back. I think he's down to be messy, but not many people there were down to be messy this season. I'd love for him to return on a more younger cast. And Michaela, who has her strongest run yet on any show, playing an under-the-radar game throughout. Through and through, she didn't have personal storyline, but had a lot to say about the game in confessional. Despite being low-key, she was a major driver of strategy, purposefully putting herself in the middle position and riding the American alliance, which was smart until the numbers dwindled down on the American side, which made players like Nany realize how they were playing, and the cast got so mad at Cedric and Michaela for playing the game well, and used them reading the Bible against them, which didn't seem very fair. She twists her ankle, which the producers continued to hammer us over the head with, editing in every time Michaela took a false step from that initial twist. It's like, we get it. She twisted her ankle, give it a rest. I'm happy she completed a final after not being able to complete her first. She's come a long way, and I truly think she's learned a lot of lessons from Cerie's mentorship on Game Changers. The show relied on her for narration in her confessionals and frequently used her quotes as episode titles. I think production loves her, and I expect to see her again, though I don't think she's lived up to the level of entertainment she brought on Survivor on the challenge yet. Our second place team splitting $50,000. We have Sydney, who has a great rookie season here, winning 4 dailies and 1 elimination. She has all this confidence and cockiness. If she had all that cockiness and then was a complete flop over and over, that would be kind of funny. At least she does own how great she is while she's kicking everyone's ass, which makes her a boss. But I found her to be so much more engaging and entertaining on Survivor, where her personality stood out in contrast to the kumbaya players over there. Here, she was all talking confessionals, referring to herself as a confessional gangsta, but she rarely made these cocky comments to the other players, which I think many of them would be shocked and annoyed about, and could cause some drama at the reunion. There's so much potential for her to be an instigator in the house, but she falls flat as a character here, gliding through the game, making friends, and through that, getting to the final with not too much story to talk about. In the end, she comes in close second. I feel we're never going to be able to hear the end of this about how she really should have won until she finally does win, which I do think will happen. And Turbo, whose season was pretty consistent with his other appearances. You can count on him to be good in challenges, winning 3 dailies, never falling into dead last in a daily, and winning the 1 elimination he was in, where he did all the work, so he makes his stats more impressive in this run. I'm of two minds about Turbo. Firstly, he does bring a hefty amount of drama to the season on a season that desperately needed drama, but on the other hand, it's always the same thing. It's either him getting upset at Nany or someone else for just playing the game and not seeming to understand the game, or maybe he only understands the game when it's in his favor, which makes him seem like a hypocrite, or he's calling the other guys names and then getting so offended the second someone calls him the same names. Again, hypocritical. In the end, he was a great partner to Sydney, pushing himself probably past his limit to get to the end. It was quite courteous of him to reach the end before getting airlifted to the hospital. I can see why he gets cast and why fans like him, as he's one of the only truly competitive players, but I'm so bored with him and I think I've seen enough. And our new champion, splitting $425,000, are Jeremy, who's definitely improved since his performance in The Amazing Race, in both placement and effectiveness in challenges, winning 2 dailies, his 1 elimination, and successfully staking a claim on Olivia. He was a great partner throughout, especially to Aviv. I was surprised when Olivia wasn't thrilled when he stole her from Will, who she hated and didn't work well with. He has some degree of story, joining the Jungle Man alliance with Lekka, Dee, and Sydney, who are probably the group I'd expect to see running things moving forward should they be asked to return, and I don't see why they wouldn't be asked or actually return. Justice for Lekka gave him some motivation, and he was at times irritated, like when Cedric went back on his word, though we never got to see him lose his cool or have much drama in the house, which is a bummer. But in the end, he becomes the champ with a dominant performance, starting with him being the first person up the hill on day 1, ending with him being the first up the hill in the final. He promises us he'll be back. I believe him, and I'm not mad. And Olivia, who has her strongest season yet, making her second final, though the first time she had Horacio as a partner, and they had to fight through multiple eliminations. This time, she's quickly on the outs, probably a mix of her not not having many friends, as her usual buddies weren't here with her, and her relationship with Theo, who wasn't very connected either, and ending up in the small UK alliance, which was always on the bottom, but Olivia was running that alliance like the Navy. I give her all the credit for that group being so tight and organized. Her confessionals throughout the season showed us she was in control and aware of the whole game, playing confidently like a vet, which impressed me. She competed well in challenges, winning 2 dailies and a physical elimination against D1 athlete Lekka. Watching this, knowing she was pregnant during the events was cool to see. I'm happy she finally got her challenge win after such hard work, giving her one of the more satisfying victories and character arcs over the last few seasons, where we watched her go through so many highs and lows over her run, and it's nice to see her have this really amazing story that would make her seasons an interesting rewatch on the binge. But that's all I have to say about this episode. Let me know what you thought of the season, the final, and Yarmy and Olivia's victory. If you like the content, consider liking and subscribing. I'll be back next week to recap the reunion. Until next time, you know where to find me. Bye.